All right, welcome to today's session. Okay, so as usual, we'll be running through the markets, sharing the outlook as well as highlighting some of the key ones to pay a little bit more attention. Just very quickly, before the session started, I was looking at the pound dollar. Kind of didn't really like the setup anymore. We'll be explaining this a little bit. But I would like to just cancel this pending order, right? So for those of you who are potentially looking at this as well, I mean it's still valid. But what I didn't really like is the current momentum that's pushing up. So I decided to just take out the pending order. Can't cancel that for now. And then of course I'm looking into some of the details. It's not a plus kind of setup, right? So it's kind of valid setup, but again, this pullback is not really great. Since I have the opportunity to be watching it, I just decide to take it out. Okay. What we can do over here is obviously still keep track of it as kind of like a little bit of a forward test, but in terms of the actual trade, I would remove it from my pending orders at the moment. What I added is actually the dollar Canadian. This is not our typical kind of SMC setup, but I'll talk a little bit about this as we progress as well. But simply just to put it out first, I'm looking at a breakout trade on the minor swing low over here. So if you can get the market coming down, then that would trigger the pending sell stop. Okay, and of course stop loss here is above that swing high, and then we're kind of looking at this coming all the way down to where that previous structure is, right? So kind of also looking at about like 1:2 risk to reward ratio. This can potentially go further as well, of course. Okay. But we'll talk about the details on this, right? But just want to put it out for now. Okay. So I'm canceling the pound dollar in terms of the sell limit. Okay, and then I'm kind of adding the dollar cat sell stop, right? So on the higher time frame. Okay. So let's just talk a little bit about dollar cat since we're on that. Okay. So on the high time frame, why I'm looking at the dollar cat as a potential trade here is because we have completed a 4-hour structure. We did have this momentum push market kind of take off all these lows, right? So definitely that's a bullish sign. We have also a completed WXY, a very nice little tree wave. The market seems to be reacting very nicely. Okay, around that FIPS, and of course with the channel structure there as well. Okay, so this is the zone, right? 101 to trade. So the thing here is on the lower time frame, we don't really have an original kind of like classic SMC setup, right? But again, it doesn't necessarily mean you can't take a trade. Okay, you might have like multiple kind of like setups, multiple methods to get involved in it, right? So this is a very simple, completion of a tree wave. We are expecting more downside. On the lower time frame, we kind of had a little bit of a minor low. So if price actually able to take out this minor low and ideally with kind of momentum break to the downside, right? Then that will be a breakout trade, okay, which align and confluence with the higher time frame on the H4. Okay, so that's a very simple thought process and reasoning for me to be looking at the dollar cat sell. Okay, so this one here I'm looking at, definitely quite a bit of a downside opportunity. Okay, in terms of like room for price to actually drop lower. But I would personally, not be over greedy, and I would say that if today the market can just simply come back towards where this minor, I would say minor swing low, okay, that to me would be pretty much a great target to aim for, right? So if again going back to the hourly, essentially this is where that low is, right? So again, kind of close to 1:2 risk to reward ratio. Not really there. But again, you can kind of squeeze your stop loss a little bit, just to where that minor high is. I think it doesn't make a huge diff, right? One is like around 45 pips, the other is like 40 pips. It's a 5 pip difference. But because we are looking at lower time frame, right? That 5 pip difference kind of like have a slightly bigger impact in terms of your overall risk to reward ratio. Right? But that's the trade idea here for dollar cat. Okay. yeah, so that's one. Just a very quick update since it's pretty much live and active right now in terms of the market movement. So just want to highlight on that, and of course, GBP USD over here, I'm taking that, but I'll just keep that metrics there and see a little bit of forward test how it's gonna go. Okay, so just quickly highlight like what really got me to cancel this, and the reason is because uh, in the morning we were looking at something like that, right? Okay, where this swing low was still intact, okay, and the ideal part here is if this goes back up, then coming back down, that's fine, right? But as the market progressed today, the minor details that caused me to kind of like didn't really have a full conviction of this particular trade already is the fact that we kind of broke that low, but didn't really go with momentum, right? I mean, if it goes with momentum, we'll simply just adjust this along the way, and then we'll just kind of like relook at our entry point. But we did break that low, but not with momentum. Okay, and the market kind of start to pull back, right? So that's the part where number one, this pullback seems strong. Number two, we kind of broke that low, but didn't really break through. Kind of potentially a fake break as well, or a liquidity sweep at the bottom. So basically, I don't have that full conviction on this trade, and that's the reason why I kind of take it out, right, from my list. Okay. Yeah, so that's something to note, right? But I'll just keep the metrics over here to kind of like do a little bit of forward test. Okay. Just very quick update. Another one that is currently running, risk free anyway, is silver. I think this trade has been slightly longer than I would have expected. The trade was actually from last Friday, or I would say last week, right? Got in like Friday along the way. Then I mean, tag in, we have some decent profits, went to break, kind of draw down and then came back down in profits on Friday, but didn't really exit that trade until now, right? So it's kind of like almost close to a week. Okay, I mean, on the hourly time frame, usually we don't hold trades up to like a week, okay? But again, you can see the market condition, it is what it is, right? But everything is still valid as this, right? And kind of like shift stops to break even. So to me, is just let it go, let it run, and then see how things would move forward from here. I think it's getting very close to our intended target. So I'm just gonna leave this as it is. Okay. I think there's no reason to be exiting earlier. But what you can do is, if you want to protect some of your profits, you can consider like shifting to this swing low. Oh, sorry, swing high. And then kind of trail your stops if the market starts to reverse. At least you don't give away too much profit, right? At least you kind of capture like 1:1. Okay, roughly there. Yeah, so that's on silver. So that's just some quick update in terms of like what's really kind of like running in the active market right now. Okay. So very quickly, let's just jump back towards the overall market outlook. Okay. Dollar here, we are looking at a little bit more downside towards 105.90 to complete a overall kind of WXY, right? And this can also turn into a diagonal like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Very high probability. All right. So if I can put in a little bit more details on the label, possibly something like this, right? So if that's going to be the case, then of course short term here can see a little bit more downside towards 105.90. If that's going to be the case, then that will be a key area to potentially look for, the U-turn on dollar. Okay, but for now, there's still a little bit more downside. Okay, I don't think it's worth kind of really trading this downside, but you might find some confluences like for example dollar cat. If you're looking at bearish move to the downside, then if the dollar is also indicating the direction in the near term, that's a little bit of a confluence, right? Okay, so if you kind of flip that, then of course euro dollar here has a little bit more upside. But again, I won't be too keen to be kind of buying the euro dollar at where we are, right? But I would say more towards like, if price continue to go higher and kind of tag the key area, I'll be definitely more interested to see if we can look for a U-turn. Okay, even if it doesn't go there, I think the next key level a little bit more on the upside would be here, right? I mean, price would likely break that high, and it can also develop as a crop. right? So not too keen on the upside anymore. Definitely more interested to see how price is going to react at the top, and then look for an early sign of a pullback or even reversal. Okay. Then of course we have GBP USD, right? GBP USD here, I'm more like interested in the sell already. Okay. You can see that's the reason why I'm looking at the sell side, right? But looking at things again, this can still go one more leg higher, right? Kind of take the high away and then only start dropping, right? So that's where there's a little bit of uncertainty and conviction in terms of the sell side. Because we're kind of like looking to catch an early reversal, right? So again, the more conservative approach is to wait for price to break this. Okay, because once price takes out that low, it kind of give us a strong indication that this high has been established and therefore the pullback or even the reversal has begun, right? So again, couple of all these factors put together led me to make that decision of not really having that conviction in that sell trade anymore. Okay, there's a little bit of a subjective element, definitely, right, in terms of the decision on that, but just try my best to explain the thought process behind like why I'm taking out that trade. Okay, so yeah, that's on GBP USD. AUD USD over here, kind of similar thought process. Okay, would probably be interested more in the downside. We want to see price kind of take up this low with momentum, right? That would indicate again the pullback is starting. Okay, I wouldn't be too keen to be buying where we are, okay, because in wave expectation, this can be a completed 5 wave as a leading diagonal. If that's going to be the case, there's a very high probability that price would come back and revisit the zone as potential wave 2, right, before the move up. So short term, we may get that sell opportunity, and then when price comes into this key area here, we'll be looking for buy opportunity, right? But for now, we just need to wait on this. Okay, so dollar CAD kind of talked a little bit on that as well already. I think dollar CAD has a lot of downside, right? Again, since last year we have a massive run. This can just be a simple pullback, and even if this is gonna be just a simple pullback, right? The downside is still pretty massive, right? So it can be a simple A, B, and then C, right? Okay, so we might be able to catch the downside here, the upside here, and then another downside here. Okay, so we can actually kind of like trade with price waves and development. Yeah, so that's on dollar CAD. Okay, dollar yen. We are currently still testing the key area. I'm more interested in the upside, because we have come to a key area, a couple of confluence. Okay, I would say a channel structure, a tree wave in a way, right? ABC. We have some sort of an indication where price is lacking momentum. All this kind of like put together, you definitely do not want to be aggressively selling, at this price point. It's not a buy yet. I don't really see any setup on the lower time frame. Okay, it's an early sign of a potential U-turn. Okay, we do have some sort of a break of the low, but for that to confirm, we need price to take out that high, right? We need price to take out this swing high. So until we get a momentum break above, we don't really have a setup. We don't have that confirmation that price is, U-turning. Okay, so dollar yen, we want to see price take out this high. Then we have more conviction in the upside, right? Okay, so nothing much on this right now. Basically just having it in the watch list because it's in a key zone, but we need to see how things develop from here. Okay, can follow, yeah. Gold, definitely looking at sign of topping. Okay, the confirmation again is for this low to be taken out with momentum, right? So again, nothing much on gold, to be honest, right? I would just say be patient, wait for certain confirmation from the market before kind of really focusing on them. Okay, you don't want to pay too much attention on this just because there's nothing there. Silver. Okay, silver is coming down pretty nicely. So if I just do a simple projection as to like where would likely see some reaction, okay, the most conservative and the simplest form of projection would be an equal leg, right? So if you can't expect this to just simply form a three-leg structure, then the target is going to be somewhere around $31.75, right? Now, personally, if you ask me, would this go lower than that? I would agree. Okay, I would actually slant towards that probability where price can actually go lower, because if I string this and kind of zoom out to the higher time frame, this move, number one, is not very impulsive in nature. It's looking corrective. Okay. String it further, zoom out a little bit more. Okay, you can see that whole development is definitely looking, pretty corrective. So what can happen over here is we can see the whole structure as potentially this is an A leg, this is a B leg, and then we can have a C leg development that come and retest the previous swing low. Okay, so over here what we can see is basically, if I clean up a little bit, right, we have this as A, we have this as an expanding B wave, and then this is a C wave which gives us a bigger A, right? And then we have this entire leg of development over here that doesn't look very impulsive in nature. We still have this swing high intact. Okay, so that can potentially be a top here in the near term, and then this can start to take out this low, right? Now, obviously, what would give us that confirmation? I mean, what I'm doing here is just simply a projection, right? In terms of anticipating the pattern development. But the confirmation would really be if price, right now we have this channel, right? Okay, if price give us a momentum push and break off the low of this channel, that's an early indication. Of course, you can also use cross reference, taking the trend line over here, and kind of like, okay, I'm not really a fan of trend line, right? But again, you can kind of use simple things like this. If price takes out that bullish trend line with momentum, then of course that's an indication price carries momentum to the downside, right? All right, so yeah, so that's my take right now. Okay, in terms of like silver, I would say the focus is definitely bearish, but obviously you don't want to chase price, right? We managed to catch this at a very early stage, but it's not one of the simplest trade because of the duration of it, and that's the reason why I'm still pretty confident in this particular trade eventually gonna hit that target. So what you can do here is, if you're interested and you're already in this trade, you can actually trail stops and go for an extended target if you want to. Okay, as I mentioned, you can go for extended target, in terms of like extended target 1, extended target 2, right? So you might have like the initial take profit as TP1. You can actually take a simple fit, swing high, swing low measurement, somewhere around 50% would potentially present your second target. Okay, somewhere around $31 can be a TP2, and then you can just have your remaining target at where that previous swing low is. Okay, so again, a simple trade based on short term. The duration went longer, and now it's presenting the opportunity to go from a short-term trade to potentially a longer-term swing trade, right? So that process is something that, I'll put it, it's something that can actually extend your profits, right? But again, whether you want to do it or not is again up to individual, right? For me, I'm not doing it. I'm just gonna keep it as here because I segregate my short-term trades. This whatever I'm sharing is mostly short-term trades, and swing trades, longer-term investment portfolio. I'm not doing in terms of like all these trades here, right? I'm just doing it in terms of equities and stocks, right? So I'm kind of doing that, right? So whatever trade I take here is a very simple hit target, get out, and then look for the next one, right? But just sharing the thought process in terms of like what other alternative you can consider in terms of managing a trade like that. Okay, so that's on silver. Then we have crude oil. Crude oil has been ding donging quite a bit since the early start of the month. You can see here February, right? Ding dong. Really nothing there, but I think it's getting clearer in terms of the structure pattern. This seems to be a diagonal, right? So if this is going to be diagonal, obviously you don't want to be selling it, but you might want to be patient and wait for a buy, right? So what would be a good pattern to indicate a potential signal for U-turn is from here, the price comes down, break that low, reverse, goes back up, break this high, and then pull back. Right? That will give us from here, right? That will give us an indication that we have a fake break, the market reverses, a corrective pullback. Great. Okay, that's an indication that this structure may have completed. Okay, so that's the part where we're waiting for. Other than that, just stay patient, just stay neutral. Okay, get it? That's on crude oil. Good. Then we have S&P. S&P obviously had a massive pullback, right? Not something I was expecting, to be honest. I was expecting some sort of a pullback, okay, with this pattern structure, but this is definitely impulsive, so just a little bit careful. When I mean careful means that, you know, psychologically this can actually pull back deeper, maybe even taking this, you know, forming some sort of expanding structure before the move out, right? But of course, this recent move doesn't make the market bearish at all. Okay, I mean in the overall arcing scheme of things, it doesn't make the market go into a bearish mode, right? I mean short term there's bearish opportunity, as I cover, right? But I think what we want to observe is how the market is going to develop around this 61.8. But looking at this momentum push, you know, there's a very good chance this would probably just turn out as a corrective pattern, and then this would one more drop, break that low. And then we have this high broken, we have this low broken. That's potentially an expanding flat structure with this swing low as an intact. And then we look for upside, right? Yeah, so for now, I think S&P, we're just going to be staying neutral. Okay, until we get more information on what pattern this would likely be developing. Okay, then we have the yen side of things, right? So we talk about dollar yen, which is potentially upside. I'm also looking at pound yen potentially upside. Okay. Pound yen is currently still respecting that 618 zone. But what we have yet to see is a impulsive break. Okay, I mean you can see this here, kind of like triple bottom, right? But we haven't really take out the minor swing high, right? I would love to see price kind of break up impulsively. Breaking this high here would be, you know, higher conviction. But looking at this overall structure, you know, we have this low broken, we have kind of like a little bit of a triple bottom. If you can take out this and then give us a corrective pullback, I'm more than willing to be a little bit more aggressive and jump onto a potential buy setup. Right? Yeah, so I'm just basically waiting for that. I think in terms of the overall direction, I'm set on focusing upside at as of now. It's just waiting for the setup to develop, you know, all the conditions and criteria to be there, and then we can, you know, really start looking for that trade. Yeah, so this one here, it might actually develop by the end of this week. Okay, so what I realized is recently a lot of the pound yen trades are coming in on like Friday. Yeah, I mean we have a sell on pound yen 2 weeks ago that triggered on Friday. We have a buy that didn't work out last Friday. And then seems like this week, you know, the setup might also develop by Friday itself. Very, very interesting things that kind of like, I don't know, not an active kind of tracking, but subtly kind of like, you know, thought of it, and then you know, but that itself has nothing to do with the trade, right? It's not like we try to, you know, take a pound yen trade on Friday, but So happened, the past two trades on pound yen was triggered on Friday. And this upcoming one, just doing a little bit of time projection, it seems like Friday is the day that the setup may be completed. Okay. Yeah, so that's on the pound yen and then odd yen. Odd yen, I'm actually not as clear in terms of the direction of focus. I mean, there's a subtle difference you can see. Okay, in terms of like overall structure here, pound yen gives us that clarity, but odd yen doesn't really give us that clarity, right? So this one, I'm just being neutral right now. If the price actually comes down correctively, break that low, and then starts to give us the setup, that would still present a similar direction in pound yen, right? It's still a similar buy opportunity, but for that to happen on odd yen, for me to be focusing on a buy on odd yen, I need to see, this low broken, and then a reversal. Okay, there are more conditions that I would love to see on odd yen for me to be going back to a bullish direction of bias. Okay, so that is on the odd yen. Okay. Then we have the pound odd. Pound odd just came back up and currently testing that 618. Which is great because that's definitely the key area I'm interested to be paying attention. Okay. So depending on how price is going to develop moving forward from here, we may get a setup maybe Thursday if we can get some sort of a pattern structure like that, right? I mean, a little bit of a double top on the hourly, a little bit of a break of the neckline, and then kind of like wait for the pullback, right? So this itself again is basically the classic kind of SMC setup, right? Okay. At the key area at 61, right? Can this go higher? Yeah, because if I use a little bit of a different extension of Fib, this can go up to psychological number 2.0050, right? Right now it's trading around 1.9950. Another 100 pips range, right? It's not a small range, so we keep track of that. Okay, but this is definitely coming into a key area right now. Okay. So yeah, that's on pound odd, and then Bitcoin. Quick update. We were in that consolidation. You can see that, and then kind of took out that low, right? So definitely you want to be patient right now. That break to the downside carries momentum as well. If you ask me, would we now switch to looking at sell? I would say just wait first. Okay. The reason is because in Elliott wave there's this pattern that is a expanding flat kind of pattern structure, right? Which carries the characteristics of, from this high we have a pullback, and then it moved back up, broke that high but didn't really continue, and then comes back down, break the previous low, and then eventually goes back up, right? So that can be what we call an expanding flat. Okay, it's a valid pattern structure in Elliott wave. So because we are aware of that, right, and then we look at this pattern here, this break may not necessarily mean that you want to be looking at sell side, right? Because this can break and then reverse, and then you realize that, oh, that's a expanding flat structure. Okay, so the thing here is you want to, at times more often than not, just give the market time to prove to you what it wants to do. Because if this is just going to come back correctively, then obviously, it's not too late to start looking for sell side. You don't want to be selling there anyway, right? Yeah, so we need to see and observe how price is going to develop from here. Then we'll have more information in terms of like what potential pattern structure are we looking at. Right, but for now, nothing much on Bitcoin. Okay, generally you just want to leave it as it is. Okay, good. Yeah, so I see a question here is about euro dollar or euro pound. I think we talk about euro dollar. So if we jump over to euro pound, let me just clean this up. this pullback seems a little bit deep, right? Okay, I start to see there's a possible U-turn structure already developing on the smaller time frame. The question is more like, is this a U-turn where this pullback is completed, or is this U-turn just gonna be a correction for another leg down to retest the low, right? Now, to be honest, if you're looking at day-to-day trades, it doesn't matter, okay? Because whether this is a U-turn to the upside or this is just simple pullback, that's the opportunity you're trading, right? If you're kind of like looking at the hourly in terms of day-to-day basis. If you're more of a swing trade, then that's something that you might need to pay a bit more attention, right? So with that said, okay, if I bring it down to the hourly, we do have the low here broken, okay. We also at the same time have this high broken. The only thing that I don't really have that conviction on this is because this doesn't really break through in momentum, right? Kind of like try to break it, attempt to break it, and then the pullback on this leg seems pretty strong. So my take here is, short term, the focus to scout is to see if we can look for upside opportunity. But on the smaller time frame, we probably don't have it yet. Okay. I would be a little bit more conservative to say wait for some high here to be broken, or you kind of look at this as an area. Okay. Price may continue to do something like that. You want it to be broken and then wait for the pullback, right? So your setup would come like way later, looking for the upside. Yeah, so that's on your pound, right? So that's how I would look at it. All right. Okay, global indices. Just a quick one here to kind of highlight. This is US 30, which is Dow Jones. Okay. We are seeing some sort of a bottoming structure here, right? I mean, on the 4-hour, if you can see it clearly, you just need to drop to the hourly. You can see that this is actually a double bottom or a triple bottom. Okay. Okay. And then of course we also have this as a neckline, right? So the idea again, when you see something like that at the key area, right, which is a 50% mark, and then we have like three-wave pattern development. The confirmation is the neckline, right? So if price actually take out this neckline, that's a sign to start looking out for upside. Okay, so that's on Dow Jones. If you take a look at China, A50, we have this swing high taken out. We have this low broken with momentum, obviously. So this here, if it pulls back correctively, that is your setup to sell it one more time, right? So the expectation is simply 1, 2, 3. Okay, yeah, so that's on the A50, right? So that's something to note. Cool. Other than that, in terms of indices, nothing really stands out. This is to me a little bit too small to really even consider that, right? Yeah, it's not there yet. Okay. Yeah, in terms of index, I think the one that worth paying a little bit more attention is the Dow Jones as well as the A50. Okay. Good. Okay, any questions that you guys have, right? Generally, that's all that I have as of now. Okay, this just tags the target very nicely. Okay, so that's a great trade. This is basically just a 1:2 risk to reward ratio, right? Yeah, so GBP I've taken that out, but I just mentioned, we just keep track, mentally to see how this is gonna play out or not. But that's not an active pending order, but this is, right? Maybe quick one here, right? Now, we have a pending sell stop, okay? What if price actually continue higher, right? What would I do about it? If price takes out this high, okay, then I would probably readjust my entry breakout if things are still valid. If not, I would look for the next setup, right? So visualize a little bit, right? Do a little bit of scenario planning. If price decides to take out that high and not really continue higher, but U-turn and come back down, okay, what would be the setup that is developing? It is turning into a classic SMC setup, right? Where we have high taken out, price came back. If we can take out that low, wait for a pullback, right? So in other words, if price take out this swing high, I would probably cancel my sell stop pending order and wait for this setup to develop. Can follow, right? Okay. So very, very simple. Okay. Question here: why are both gold and dollar index dropping together? Now they have a correlation, but doesn't necessarily mean they are always moving in opposite direction. Okay. The reason is because dollar index is a basket of, it's tracking a basket of currencies, right? Dollar against certain currencies. Gold itself is gold, right? That's the asset of gold price that is influencing. It's not just the dollar, right? Yeah, so one of the common misunderstanding here is that, oh, if gold is going up, the dollar needs to come down, or if dollar is going up, gold needs to come down, right? You don't want to be looking at the market from that perspective, because you need to understand what builds the dollar index is a basket of currencies, right? So the dollar is tracking against a basket of currencies. There are multiple factors affecting the various currencies and therefore dollar index. If you're looking at gold, XAU USD, bear in mind you're not just trading dollar itself, but there is also the factor that would impact gold. Okay, so gold prices can be traded against the dollar index. Gold as a commodity can also be traded against other currencies. So gold as an individual asset has its factors affecting its price as well. Okay, so in other words, okay, I don't look at each currencies or each pair here as direct relationship to be making trading decision. Okay, I use the understanding of correlation to manage my risks. If today, for example, right, last week we have the pound yen potential buy, and then we have also the dollar yen potential buy. What I mean by risk exposure is I understand that both of this pair are in a way correlated. So when I execute trades on them, if I decide to take both, I will reduce my risk accordingly, right? I will reduce my position size so that I see both yen trades as a single trade idea, is one trade by itself, just that it's happening on different pair, right? So that's how I use it, right? I use it for risk exposure, risk management. Okay, I don't use the correlation as a trading decision. I use it purely for risk management aspect. Okay. Okay, so generally that's about it. Hopefully today's session has been good. You at least take away something. And then of course there are a couple of things that we can keep track of in the market for the week. So hopefully that also provide you guys some insights. That's all for today's session. All the best. We'll end off the stream over here, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Okay.